Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, I hope you're having a fantastic day. It should be Sunday, at least if I've had the wherewithal to manage to edit this in time for Sunday, because it's a swatching Sundays. And I did say in my last video that I kind of wanted to go through the Beauty Moon Cosmetics Cream Multi-Chrome products, and I have all 8 of them here, not in my hands. There's 4 there. Well done you if you can count. But today's video is about swatching all 8 of those. Now, I will say that because these are cream products, they're kind of tricky to swatch. It's just the nature of them. But I've kind of done this so that you get an idea as to like the base of these, the shifts of these, and what these look like. You're probably not going to build them up in the same way that I have in these swatches, but it's just to kind of give you an idea as to what they look like. So if you want to see what these look like across lots of different lightings, then this is the video for you. Do please keep on watching. So I have all 8 of the Beauty Moon Cosmetics Cream Multi-Chrome shades here. They're all in these fabulous little pots. Now I would normally swatch using my fingers, but actually I have found with this particular cream formula, you're best using a sort of a silicone applicator. And the one that I'm using is from Artitude Cosmetics. I am an affiliate with them. I'll have a little link down below if you are interested, but I think it's a really great tool for doing that. In addition to this, because I'm kind of putting it on with a silicone spatula, I don't really have to build it up in the way that I would with like a typical finger swatch. I won't do these that often in terms of like using a silicone sort of a spatula, but I've just found with this formula, it's the best. So I have my little stencils ready, that's right. And I'm gonna go through each of these shades one by one. The first one that we have is the shade Aura, and it's this beautiful kind of like a lilac to pink. There's a little bit of gold, a little bit of green, a little bit of blue. It's really unusual. I don't think you can see it fully in this light, but hey, that's why we try and do lots of different lighting situations. So this is the shade Aura swatched. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, it's pretty. Now what I have found is if you try and put this on with your finger, it just doesn't disperse in the best way, and you just end up with more on your finger than you do on your desired location. But do you see what I mean? How I don't have to like re-swatch that. It's all about using the correct tools, my friends. Next, we have the shade Eternal, and I was really interested in this because I don't see many shades like this. So there's a yellow to kind of like an orangey gold, but there's a little bit of a green twist in there, which is quite unusual. So this is Eternal swatched, and what I will say about these shades is like there's sort of like flaky bits in it. It reminds me a little bit of the Danessa Myricks. You know how she's the twin flakes, chroma flakes, can't even remember what they're called now, but it reminds me a little bit of that. Now if you're a bit worried about texture on your eyelid, this is probably not going to be the sort of formula for you. If however you're all cool with that and you've like fabulously untextured eyelids, or you're cool with having that really interesting 3D effect, that could be for you. We are now onto the shade Gaia. This is one of the more traditional shades that we would have seen with multi-chromes in the past. It's a purple to blue to green, so very kind of traditional. It's almost exactly the same shade as the shade Gaia that is in the Danessa Myricks Lightwork 3, so I think that's quite interesting. Now I do find the formula on this one, Gaia, a little bit drier than the rest. I don't know if it's like a slight difference because of the shades, but you can see that you don't have the same texture with that one. I do have to build it up a little bit more though, so keep that in mind. We now have Meet My Unicorn, and that's again another sort of a lilac shade, but there's kind of blues and pinks and greens, a little bit of like sort of, I suppose, like a periwinkle blue in there as well. It's very pretty. Again, this is a slightly drier formula. Not quite as dry as Gaia, but not as wet as the other ones. So this is Meet My Unicorn, and if I remember correctly, I think this was named by fans of the brand because she left it up to fans. You can see the spreads a little bit better. So not all of them have the texture to it, and this is one of them that doesn't. So Gaia and Meet My Unicorn don't really have any textures, so keep that in mind. This shade Angelina is probably one of my favorites. I've already got a bit of it smeared on my finger here because, I mean, why not? But there is this kind of pale pink to almost lavender, a little bit of green in there as well. It's just so pretty. There's so much of me that just wants to use that as a highlighter, and I think it would be gorgeous in that sense. It reminds me very much of a shade that's in the Danessa Myricks Lightwork 3. I know, I keep mentioning that, but that's my frame of reference for this. And we have the shade Angelina here. I'd love to know if this was named after somebody, you know, like for whom the brand owner is close to. What a nice way to like commemorate friends, like it's cute. Or maybe it's just Angelina Jolie, who knows? But I think that is stunning. So, so pretty. Next we have Bellatrix, and I'm assuming this is kind of a link to Bellatrix Lestrange from Harry Potter, because it feels like it's her kind of a shade. There's something very ethereal, but also like a little bit menacing about it. There's a blue to green to yellow, and they're all kind of quite, I don't know, eerie shades? Is that the way to call it? It's very, very pretty. And this is Bellatrix swatched. So it's a little bit drier in formula. I probably would need to get some Duraline, I think, maybe to kind of get a little bit of moisture back into these. Maybe I didn't seal them properly, who knows, but that's beautiful. That's a lot more like subtle than the rest. Do you see what I mean about it being almost like ethereal? Then we have the shade Esmerelda, and I'll be honest, when I think of Esmeralda, I think of like the character from Disney who has the purple dress. Green, like a minty green, isn't exactly the first thing I'd have thought of, but it's kind of pretty. It's quite like, I don't know, minty green to like little flecks of purple and blue, with mint green being the dominant. So here we have Esmeralda. Again, this is a little bit drier, so I think I need to maybe double check the way that I'm storing these, or making sure that I'm putting the tubes or lids onto these properly. Also, I'd say if I get a bit of Duraline, they should be grand. But like, it's nothing I can't cope with. And the very last shade is Seahorse. So this is predominantly a pale blue, but there's kind of quite vibrant, almost radioactive green, and there's bits of purple in there as well. Very, very pretty. Very aptly named, actually. And this is our last one, Seahorse. Oh, so pretty. And they do seem to dry down pretty okay, but you can see some of them do have quite a bit of texture. So you're gonna have to figure out what you want to do with that, or if that's something that you're okay with. So that is all 8 of these swatched. I'm going to remove the stencil now. Despite using like a silicone spatula, I've still ended up with glitter all over myself. It is ridiculous. So kind of beware of that. You're probably going to get some fallout with these to at least some extent. Is this the cleanest removal? No. No, it's not. Oh well. Whee! There we go. It still looks quite pretty, to be fair. So as you guys know, I have one ring light on and 2 box lights. There's no main light on right now, but it will give you some idea as to what these look like. As you can see, these 2 up at the very top, they do have quite a bit of texture. They almost bubble a little bit. Now that's quite cool if that's the effect that you're going for, but just keep that in mind. Kind of the rest of the shades are a little bit smoother, so they'd probably be great for slightly more mature eyelid skin like my own. I also feel like a few of these could double up as like highlighters, where you could just tap them on, because they do look really, really pretty in my opinion. And now you can see what this looks like when there's just one ring light on. So I have no other source of light, and it gives you a fairly good idea as to how they kind of give you those little shifts. They're very, very pretty, to be fair, but I think they're really going to shine when we do get outside. And we're in the darkness now, and this gives you actually a really nice idea of how they look in the dark. They look so pretty, don't they? Or is it just me? Anyways, I have my phone's torchlight to kind of give you some idea of the sparkles that you might see with these. These aren't very neat sort of swatches, but sure look. I think it still gives you a good idea of what they look like. And you could probably build them up even further. I just kind of let them be, you know? And we're doing a colour pop now where we basically have every single light on in the universe. And you can see it does wash it out quite a little bit. And I will say, when you have a lot of the lights on, you don't see that there's a slightly more clear base on this. It kind of gives you a little bit more opacity, which I think is quite interesting in and of itself. So as always, seeing them in lots of different lights, very, very helpful. But I will also show you this on another camera, so my phone camera as well, just to give a little bit more context. So I think you can really see on this camera just the extent of the sort of texture that I'm talking about here. You could see it very much in the first two shadows, a little bit in the second and third, and not so much in the last four, which I'm quite happy about, because the last four would be the ones that I'd be like, oh, let's see if I can use these as highlighters. I will say it's probably a little bit to do with the way that I'm applying it, because I was going for full opacity rather than like, let's see how smooth these can be. So keep that in mind. I also didn't put down any sort of a base. I didn't put down any sort of glue, primer, etc. So that is going to impact things. So take everything with a pinch of salt. This is just to give you an idea as to what the products themselves look like. And here we are now in some indirect sunlight to hopefully give you a little bit better of an indication of these here. So I'm literally just at a windowsill, shaking my arm around, shaking what my mama gave me. Well, I don't know if she gave me my arms, but there you go. I should ask for a refund. But I think you can see the sort of shimmers here pretty well. And we're now in a place where there's no light at all. There's no source of light other than to my right. Is that your right? I don't know. Other than to my right, where there's a front door, but that's closed. But this is what it looks like when there's no light or no direct light on it. So this is what it would look like if it was just on your eyeball. Isn't that pretty? I think it looks really, really nice. I mean, I'd wear that. It looks really nice. But I am now facing the braves of the outside to show you this. And there is a bird up on a lamppost tweeting away. No cats around that I'm aware of. But this is what it looks like in the sunlight. So you can see, I'd say with that green one there, if you had a nice black base, it'd come out even more. Because I didn't do these justice. Literally just slapped them on, used no sort of glues, which isn't how you'd apply them, but this is just for swatches. It just gives you some idea as to what they'll look like. As I said, I do feel like, particularly those bottom four, I think if you really tap them on, you could make some really nice highlights. Like, they do look really pretty. I'm not against it. Now I would say like that dark green, it feels like more of like a chrome, like a more metallic than necessarily a multi-chrome. But I'm not going to get annoyed about it over that. Now I will take out another camera, the phone again, to show you what that looks like. And while originally when I came out there was no cats, there is Cece, helping, as always. But this is what they look like on the phone. Again, you can see some of the texture, but sure, no harm in that. But they look quite nice. Again, I think if I figure out how to apply these properly, they could look really, really nice. Like particularly that green, I think over a black, smudge it out, it's going to look stunning. Like I don't think they're meant to go to this full opacity. I'm just being silly, as usual. But they do have a nice shine, don't they? They're very, very pleasant to look at. And that's it across lots of different lightings. So I do feel there's a couple of shades that tends to stand out a little bit more than others. So for example, you know, things like Aura, Angelina, Bellatrix, they are super, super interesting. I think possibly because they have a more light base, so they kind of come across a little bit differently. Part of what I found quite interesting about this is there's almost like a difference in formula across these in terms of like how dense they are, how dry they are, etc. Some have a little bit more texture than others. So I'm hoping that this gave you a little bit more kind of context for this. If you aren't into the textured type ones, then I would say the likes of Bellatrix and Aura, etc. are going to be a little bit better for you. The shade Gaia is more kind of like a traditional sort of a multi-chrome. You probably have it already, so you don't really need it. I did find that the shade Eternals, that yellowy golden one, is super, super interesting. It's one of the more textured ones. However, you're not going to build it up in the way that I had it, like on my arm. You're going to have it done a little bit differently, maybe tap it out, maybe put like a nice yellow base on beforehand. I think these are quite interesting. And when I got these, I think they had like a 3 for however much. I think it was like maybe 3 for 2, etc. And there are like a couple of different codes. So I do think that's really, really quite good. I will also say that when I ordered these, there was a little bit of a delay. Now, these things happen. It's not a massive issue. Fine with me. And actually, this is, I think it was a good thing that it happened, because I didn't even reach out to the company to be like, oh, where's my stuff? They proactively messaged me and said, just as an FYI, there is a delay. We are expecting that it'll come at this time. And it did. It came within that time that they had specified. But the fact that they were so proactive in that, I was like, oh, 10 out of 10 for doing that. Like, I think that's really, really good. I love a very proactive strategy. So I will say, just on customer service alone, very, very pleased. I quite like these. These are a little bit different. I will say they're not going to be for everyone. They're not. Like, how many of us do legitimately use cream shadows? I've tricked myself into thinking that I will. There's little particles in some of those, so if you are a little bit nervous at that kind of thing, this may not be for you. But they do appear to be eye safe. Now, don't take what I'm saying for granted, but there you go. Yeah. I mean, I think they're really nice. I've managed to get most of these to have glitter on them, because I've been opening them up every so often and just kind of going, scoopity, scoopity. So I've managed to really change the colours on these. Yeah, I've got like glitter all over myself. Right. If you wanted to get not all 8 and you just were like, Teresa, what's your absolute faves? I think you kind of have an idea. And I'm going to pick up, because I have to have a look. Oh, no, you're not making the cut. Let me see. Yeah, these 3. These are my top 3, in my opinion. Angelina, it reminds me a little bit of like a highlighter that I had on my wedding day. Then there's Bellatrix. I think this is genuinely quite an interesting one. And Aura. Now, these are the more light ones, because I feel like these are a little bit more versatile. You could use these for a lot of things outside of just cream shadows. That's part of why I think they're interesting. As I said, there are kind of little flecks of things in there, so it's not like a clear base. So keep that in mind. I know that that puts some people off, but just, it'll help you make a more informed purchase. But that, my gorgeous friends, is it. Thank you so much for watching. I do have an It's Belle cosmetic palette that is coming my way very, very soon. So if you want to see me swatch that, that'll be the next one. It was one of their more recent ones. It was like a midnight one or something. Yeah, I know. I eventually got it because I'm an It's Belle fool. So if you want to see that swatched, let me know. I'll probably do it anyways. And if you have any other suggestions, do please let me know. But my gorgeous friends, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell. And do please share, because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case, just wrap it up. Don't be gross, but that's it. That's the end of this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.